This is Life FM on the morning wake up with Salah, Bjorn, and Bex for King and Country, one of the music industry's most respected and decorated duos. Brothers Joel and Luke Smallbone have won a swag of illustrious awards, including 4 Grammys, 10 GMA Dove Awards honoring outstanding achievements and excellence in Christian and gospel music. They've headlined tours and sold out arenas around the world, and they released their 4th studio album today. It's called What Are We Waiting? Yeah. It's called What Are We Waiting For? You know what? Not bad for a couple of Aussie boys, and we won't hold that against them. Please join us in welcoming for King and Country's Joel Smallbone.
Sal, it's the Southern Hemisphere, man. You know, we've just got to embrace one another. There's not many other countries down there, and so we've just got to say, hey, look, we're all in this. My win, an Aussie win, is a New Zealander win.
We'll take
Australia does like to claim a lot of the good stuff New Zealand does, so that is very true, actually.
Well, you've just got to return the favor then. Start claiming the Aussie stuff, you know?
Hey, if there was something to claim, we would take it, but we're still waiting.
No, you know what? We're gonna take for King and Country. They're ours. Kiwis. Yeah. They're ours.
There you go.
Hey, so Salah gave you the great lead in there with all your accolades. What do you actually do with your trophies in that when you win a Grammy or a Dove Award? Where do you put it?
Well, it depends on if you ask me or Luke, Bjorn. Okay, well, here's a little fun fact for you. So to celebrate the new album in Nashville, Tennessee, in the States where we now live, we actually did our first ever fan weekend, if you want to call it that, where we had 400, we limited to 400 people. 400 people fly from all over the country and the world. We did have an Aussie, no Kiwis, but nonetheless, fly to Nashville, and we played the record. We did a performance for them, played some of the new music for them, the whole thing. And there was, it's a bit silly, really, but there was one of like Luke's Grammys there that people could go and look at. But in all seriousness, I don't say this in very many interviews because it would be offensive to Americans, but Luke has 3 sons, and they have managed to fully dismantle numerous of his Grammy Awards. And they sit literally, I don't make this up, man, they sit in the attic upstairs. Yeah.
The only place the kids can't get to them and ruin them. Hey, I've got a 4-year-old son, man. I could imagine. I mean, I'm not in danger of winning a Grammy anytime soon, but if I happen to come across one, it'd be damaged pretty quick. We were actually talking, I know we're going to talk about the album and stuff too, but just on the show yesterday, we were talking about CDs and like what was the first album that you ever bought? Do you remember going to when CD stores were still a thing? And you'd head in there and you'd listen to them and decide on which one you wanted to buy. Do you remember, Joel, the first CD that you ever bought?
You mean the kind of the sources that you would slide into the little slit in your center console in your car,
That's right.
You know?
Yeah, the coasters.
And it would magically play music. Yeah, the coasters. That's it. I don't know if it was my very first, but I do remember the event. Remember how it was an event? You would go to the record shop. You would and they would release them at midnight, sort of like they do on digital platforms now, where you would wait in line and you would rush in and you would try and get one before they sold out. And my first that I recall was I think In Sync, No Strings Attached.
Salah's gonna love you.
Yeah. Beyond one of his first albums was the Backstreet Boys, and I was saying you never crossed over to NSYNC, and he just didn't. He couldn't do it. But I'm a big NSYNC fan as well.
Oh man, no. NSYNC is I won't say anything about Backstreet Boys, but NSYNC, there's actually some good talent in that group. Hence Justin Timberlake and so on.
He's done pretty well for himself. Yes, I think we can all agree. We can all
agree with that. Yeah.
Now, okay, so you started out buying an album from a boy band. Do you consider For King and Country to be a boy band? Because,
Bjorn, there are 2 boys in the band.
If the boot fits, you know.
Yes, that's right. No, I mean, I will say in all seriousness, you know, we were all sort of a makeup of be it our parents or influences, musical influences and so on. And so I do think there are overtones of particularly performance presentation. There's no dance moves, but man, I actually went to a couple NSYNC shows, and just the presentation is outrageous, And so, yeah, I can sort of admit that we were inspired by that for sure.
Okay, so you take elements of the boy band structure and keep it. You guys do have a very slick show, though. So I've seen you guys play live. You played at Festival One a few years ago, and like you are synchronized, and there is a lot going on. When you're doing Little Drummer Boy, and there's the drums getting thrown and people catching instruments when you've finished with them, and a lot of timing of when you meet in the middle and stuff. Did it take a lot of practice?
It's organized chaos, man. Hey, that's where we first met, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I was so sad because I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan. Speaking of pop culture, and Mariah, my wife, got to go to Hobbiton, because it was like 30 minutes away, and I think I stayed because of you.
Oh,
jokers.
No!
Like I think I literally had an interview, and I had to stay. So I've got a beef. I missed on Hobbiton because of you.
Well, hey, if we had known that, I literally would have cancelled the interview, because I too am a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Did you know, Joel, that they're actually, the new Amazon Lord of the Rings thing they're filming? Yeah. They film it next door to my dad's farm. So it's like 600 meters away from my parents' house is where they're filming the whole show.
Oh, I love that they went back down there to do that. I think that's fantastic. We literally last month, Mariah and I watched all of the extended editions.
Oh, again. The director's cut.
Oh, the director's cut. We did it. Anyway, Bjorn, you asked about the show. Yes, it is organized chaos. There's a lot of failure in the show, which is sort of tied to the band itself. Like, in failure, there's great discovery, And so I feel like in the show, we remember this one time we were playing the song "Fix My Eyes," and we did this big intro, and the click track went out, and then we all stopped, and we looked around at one another, and then someone started again, and then we went into the song, and the audience erupted, and we've literally done that ever since. Like, we just did this pause in the middle of it, and then So I love all that. I love all that sort of just creative liberty, trying to change it up and think outside the box. I think it's great.
All right. I feel like that's that third wheel. I feel like you two are like boyfriend and girlfriend, and I'm the one that Bjorn's brought along because I haven't met you yet, Joel. I'm the new addition to the morning wake up, but I'm here now.
Right.
No, it's okay. I'm here now. So if I can just talk about the album. For many artists...
Why do you have to go there, Sal? Why do you got to go there?
Because Joel needs to gap it because he's got another interview he's got to do. I know that for a lot of artists, it's a massive journey of discovery that leads you to the finished product of a new album.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine that there would be a whole lot of things that you would have discovered while making this album, like your faith, your hope. There's a lot of hope in there, healing and love. When you created What Are We Waiting For? What emotions, values, and realizations do you want people to experience when they listen to the album?
So I'll say this: there might be a little bit of a, bromance going on between me and Bjorn, but you bring in the content, man. You bring in the heart, and that's what I appreciate. It's a good question, Sela, because I've actually, with this backdrop of this fan weekend, we've had to do a little bit of, heart connect, coupled with literally experiencing people experience the record for the first time. And we've sort of broken down the album into 3 parts. We said, it's an album that's very central to family. Like, there's songs about either our wives or our parents or siblings and so on. Songs, obviously, kind of a spiritual record with "For God Is With Us" or "Benediction." These songs that are really kind of, pointing us upward in the process. But thirdly, and maybe most dominantly, it's a global record, looking at where we find ourselves, you guys, there's no secret over here. There was a lot of, political division, racial tension, obviously physical isolation during COVID. It brought up a lot, and it sort of carried on in some ways since. And so we kind of took it upon ourselves to really write toward that thought. And one other key component, and that is, for the first time in all of our lifetimes, we have a global suffering, a common suffering, that no matter your country, your creed, your ethnicity, you knew what we all walked through something, and that was the pandemic. And I think there's a great opportunity as we come out of this, well, as Bjorn comes out of it, into, a new season. There's an opportunity for us to connect and relate to one another in a whole new way because of this common suffering that we've all faced. And so I think that's sort of laced into the record as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to take a listen to the full thing. We've been loving the tracks that we've heard so far. When you're recording and choosing the songs for the album and reviewing them and stuff, do you ever have to change anything on them upon reflection? I saw that Ed Sheeran is in court at the moment because someone reckons he stole a melody from one of his songs. Have you ever been recording a song being like, man, this is a great sort of line or feel, and then being like, oh wait, it sort of sounds a bit too much like this other song? Has that ever happened?
Yeah, because some really great melodies actually do inherently sound familiar, right? It's not that there are any. Have you ever heard that song for the first time? Man, that just sounds familiar. But it's actually just because it's a really great melody that really resonates with you, I think. And then there are those other times where you go, yeah, that's someone else's. but most of the time we catch it in time to where it doesn't. I feel for Ed Sheeran, Hayley Williams and Paramore, Olivia Rodriguez over here, just pretty brutally sort of, and she's a big Hayley Williams fan, and they sort of, so what ends up happening is they just sort of write them into the song, and then Hayley Williams is now part of this song that she was never a writer in the room for,
I was really curious as to your relationship with Luke, right? Whether as brothers, you love each other, but you can get sick of each other at the same time. And I scrolled through and I trolled your TikTok page, so sorry, I had to look through that. It's awesome, man. But there's a video there of Luke holding. You guys had just come off stage, and Luke's talking to the phone. Doesn't know what's going to happen, and then all of a sudden you sneak up behind him, and you give him a massive bro hug, and I think the caption was, "Find a brother who can do this." So I don't know whether you remember that, but you two.
That was last week. That was actually at that fan award weekend. Fan weekend I was telling you about. Yeah.
So I know that relationship is real and authentic, but there's got to be times when you would just want to just punch him in the pants or just kick him in the bum.
No, it's a good question because it's a very active conversation right now. A little backdrop. So Luke and I are brothers, as you know. Dad manages us, but Dad's also, this is just legally, he's a third of owner in the band. So it's really Dad, Luke, and myself. Dad is the one that put Luke and me together. And Luke and I never got on growing up because he's my younger brother who grew taller than me, better sportsman than me, and he really liked to sort of rub that in my face. And it was music that really brought us together. But Dad was like, hey, you guys should work together. And so there was some aspect of it that I think in the early years, we never felt like we'd chosen one another fully. But as we've gotten further on in this, even down to the last few months of working on this record and other opportunities coming along, where you're sort of going, all right, I could go over and do this thing on my own, or I could go over and do this thing on my own. And it's actually been really beautiful because we've chosen one another time and time again. And I think that choosing over, at this point, years and years of choosing one another and choosing to collaborate and choosing to, step in the gap for one another's weaknesses or faults or whatnot, that really deepens relationship. And so I was working on a post with regards to one of our other brothers, Ben, who's a filmmaker, And I was just saying, this is some of the richest in this post. I haven't actually put it up yet. I'm just saying this is one of the richest seasons of creating with my brothers. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's sort of really genuine. I think we're all aware too. There was a moment last year in Full Candor where Luke came to me and he said, "Man, I just realized how fragile this thing is. Like, these things. There's a real thing that you could be estranged from. Like, it's just such a powerful family, such a powerful thing in and of itself. And then you put collaboration and creativity into it. It's powerful, man, on both directions."
Yeah, you see that with I think of Oasis, the British band.
I was going to say, yep.
The Gallagher brothers, they don't even talk to each other anymore. They just totally.
They roll in the back of my mind, Bjorn, for sure. Sorry, carry on.
If it did come down to a fight between you and Luke, who would come out on top?
100%. Come on.
I mean, I don't want to say that we are just interviewing you right now, but I mean, he's got the height advantage. He's probably got the reach, but then he's got 3 kids. He's probably exhausted. You've got a more chiseled jawline. I don't know. You look pretty fit. Who's going to take it out? Who's got more fight inside them?
He would tell you if he was here. 100% me. 100%. Yeah. We'll just settle that right now.
Yeah, too good. Hey, man, well, we're really excited about the album coming out today, and we can't wait to listen to it and play some of the songs from it. And it's been great catching up with you, Joel. We wish you all the best with the album. And yeah, I mean, when people listen to it for the first time, what's the main thing you want them to sort of just take away from it, or go into it listening with?
Well, first of all, Stella, nice, Bjorn, nice to see you again, and Stella, nice to sort of meet you. And love the work you guys are doing. Look, I think that the question, what are we waiting for? There's not a song on the record that actually represents that statement. And the reason we chose it is because I think on a global level, there's a question you can ask, but then there's also a very personal question that you can ask, be it relationally, vocationally, spiritually, like what are we waiting for now, And I think hopefully it'll read and it'll sort of feel different for every person that encounters the question. I think the answer is actually different for most all of us. I know it is different from me than it is for Luke. And so I think my hope is that it'll be a bit of a self-reflection record that as we're sort of in this pivotal point of humanity of deciding what version we're going to be of ourselves post this sort of global suffering, as I mentioned, that we'll be able to look at that and go, okay, let's lean in these areas of be it relationally, so like I said, spiritually or vocationally, and find, the hallmarks, I think, of humanity, which is, like you said at the beginning. So it's these grand concepts of love and of hope and of compassion and empathy, and letting those things replace judgment and of others or yourself or critique. But that seems like the freest way to live. And so we're trying to head in that direction, I think, with this record.
We're so wrapped that we were first off the boat. Joel, thank you so much for your time this morning. What are we waiting for? It's out today. Please go get it. Take care and God bless. And I really hope that the Wallabies win for you this century. I doubt that's going to happen, but I really pray and hope that
I haven't been following. So if that was meant to be an insult, it wasn't one. So. All right. See you, boys.
Take care. God bless.